What if you could see red lines connecting every person to everyone they've ever been intimate with? Welcome to S-Line, the Korean psychological thriller that's redefining supernatural horror. I'm breaking down this complex, disturbing, and brilliant drama scene by scene, revealing how it uses its supernatural premise to expose the darkest aspects of human nature. Buckle up, this gets dark fast. Our story opens in bustling South Korea with Yoon, a young woman living as a complete recluse. She's jolted awake by aggressive car honking from below. Notice how she doesn't just look out her window, she peers through a strategically cut hole in cardboard that she's glued over the glass. This immediately tells us everything about her isolation and paranoia. From her hidden vantage point, she observes a high school student being pressured by a man to get in his car. But then something else catches her attention. A neighbor woman across the street, smoking and offering a friendly smile. Yoon-Hup's reaction? She immediately slams the cardboard shut, cutting off all human connection. Here's where the supernatural element is revealed, and it's devastating. Yoon-Hup sees what she calls S-lines, vivid crimson threads emanating from every person's head, stretching out to connect them to anyone they've ever been intimate with. Most people have multiple lines. She sees them all with crystal clarity. But this isn't a superpower. It's a curse that destroyed her family. The flashback reveals everything. As an innocent child, Yoon-Hup drew what she saw, multiple red lines from her father's head, one connected to her mother, but others stretched to different women, including her aunt. Her innocent child's drawing became damning evidence of her father's affairs. The aftermath was catastrophic. Her mother completely snapped upon seeing the truth, stabbing her husband to death in a moment of devastating betrayal and rage. Yoon-Hup, believing with crushing childhood guilt that this horrific murder was entirely her fault, realized her gift was actually a curse. The trauma runs so deep that she's made multiple suicide attempts, yet inexplicably survives each one, as if fate itself refuses to let her escape this burden. Now she's driven by a desperate mission. Find who created these lines, discover if others share this agonizing knowledge, and, most importantly, learn how to break free from this curse forever. Meanwhile, Detective Jiwuk, the same man whose insistent car honking woke Yoon-Hup, begins his day at the police station. He's clearly worried about his niece Seon-A, the high school student he was trying to pick up earlier. Jiwuk is established as charming and charismatic, a bit of a player, who effortlessly flirts even with a colleague about to get married. But work demands attention. Jiwuk and his partner, Dong-sik, investigate a brutal murder scene, a woman killed in her own home. What's immediately suspicious is that while the entire house is in disarray, the bedroom is meticulously clean, as if someone went to extraordinary lengths to sanitize it. Jiwuk's detective instincts kick in when he spots a food delivery box from an obscure, relatively unknown restaurant. His gut tells him the seemingly insignificant detail might be the breadcrumb trail leading to the killer. His hunch proves prescient when a witness comes forward with crucial information. They saw a helmeted man, apparently a delivery worker, entering the victim's room the night before her body was discovered. The investigation deepens when they uncover that the victim had recently ended a relationship with her boyfriend. So this adds another layer of suspicion. Was this a crime of passion by an ex-lover, or something more sinister involving the mysterious delivery man? That evening, as Yoon-Hup cautiously retrieves delivered packages, even simple tasks require extreme caution in her isolated world. She finds thoughtful gifts from her neighbor Haewon, fresh apples in a plastic bag. While eating and watching the news, fate intervenes. The broadcast is covering the very murder case Jiwuk is investigating. But what freezes Yoon-hup's blood is seeing a helmeted figure lurking in the background of the news footage, clearly trying to stay hidden behind a wall while eavesdropping on the crime scene. The truly shocking detail that sends chills down her spine: this helmeted man has only one single S-line on his head. In her world of tangled connections and multiple relationships, this is a stark, unsettling anomaly that immediately sparks deep suspicion. As if summoned by her fears, the same helmeted man appears near her apartment building. Panic sets in. Yoon-hup rushes to call police, but her phone is dead. While frantically charging it, she watches in growing terror as the helmeted man enters the building across the street and disappears into Haewon's apartment. With barely enough battery, she dials emergency services. But as she speaks to the operator while monitoring the situation, a shocking realization hits her like ice water. Haewon isn't in danger. The helmeted man is her boyfriend, her romantic partner. The mistake dawns on her and she hangs up, but one nagging question torments her thoughts. Why does this man only have one S-line connected to Haewon, as if this was their very first intimate encounter? The unsettling incident, happening so close to her sanctuary, triggers her past trauma and stirs up painful, buried memories. The next day introduces us to the brutal reality of Seon-A's school life. Still recovering from a vicious beating by Hee-young and her relentless gang, Seon-A makes the desperate decision to skip school entirely. Hee-young, the quintessential bully with sociopathic tendencies, immediately jumps to conclusions, assuming Seon-A is avoiding school because she hasn't produced the extorted money. With cruel calculation, Hee-young breaks into Seon-A's locker, hoping to find hidden cash or something to hold over her victim's head. Instead, she discovers a simple paper bag containing food and, tucked innocently inside, a love letter. Ammunition for public humiliation. Meanwhile, Jiwuk returns home to find Seon-A absent from school and asks for money. It's then that he finally notices the telltale bruises covering her face and body, clear evidence of systematic abuse. When he presses her about what happened, Seon-A stubbornly refuses to reveal the truth, locking herself away to suffer in silence. The investigation takes an interesting turn when Jiwuk receives a call from his colleague, Dong-sik. Someone has contacted police about the helmeted man. But here's the crucial detail. The fact that the perpetrator might be the helmeted man hasn't been leaked to the public yet. This means the caller has insider information. The caller turns out to be Jiwook's own neighbor, Yoon-hyup herself. When Jiwuk arrives to question her, she's too terrified to open her door despite standing right on the other side. A neighbor explains that the girl is a complete recluse who won't emerge for anyone. Finally, Yoon-hyup cracks the door open just enough to speak. She reveals she saw the helmeted man enter apartment 204 across the street, initially thinking he was the murderer, but quickly clarifies she realized her mistake. He was just the woman's boyfriend. When Jiwuk asks why she's home alone during school hours, Yoon-hyup panics and slams the door shut. The plot thickens when Jiwook's helmeted man appears again, but this time he doesn't go to the building across the street. Instead, he enters Yoon-hyup's own building. Through her door's peephole, their eyes meet for a fleeting, terrifying moment, a silent acknowledgement that sends chills through both of them. Seon-A's desperation reaches a breaking point. Sitting alone, receiving threatening messages from Ha-young demanding money for the next day, she spots an elderly woman emerging from a bank with an envelope visibly bulging with cash. The gnawing need for money pushes her to the unthinkable. She begins stalking the old woman into a narrow alley, intent on robbery. But just as she's about to commit the crime, a group of men passes by, startling her enough to abandon the plan. At the alley's end, she spots 3 familiar faces, boys from her school, who happen to be the boyfriends of her bullies, creating another layer of her social nightmare. Meanwhile, Dong-sik's investigation unearths a shocking connection. The murder victim had a boyfriend named Jung-min, a math teacher at the very school Seon attends. Even more bizarre, Jung-min lives in the apartment building directly across from Jiwuk's residence. Dong-sik initially dismisses this as an incredible coincidence. When Dong-sik shows Jiwuk a photo of their new suspect, recognition dawns. It's the same man Jiwuk spoke to when he went to question Yoon. This connection transforms a routine investigation into something deeply personal. Before they can investigate together, Jiwuk receives an urgent call about his father and rushes to the hospital, leaving Dong-sik to pursue the lead alone. At the hospital, Jiwuk discovers his father is missing from his room. Following his instincts, he finds his father on a balcony, perched dangerously on the edge, as if preparing to jump. In a disturbing moment, Jiwuk seems to freeze with strange reluctance, watching as his father teeters on the brink before nurses arrive to save him. Dong-sik arrives at Jung-min's apartment to find the door unlocked and the place eerily empty. Venturing deeper, he discovers a room painted in an unsettling, striking red. As he calls Jiwuk to report his findings, Jung-min ambushes him from behind with a heavy metal bat. Despite brave attempts to defend himself, Dong-sik is quickly overpowered and tied to a chair. Jung-min then dons his helmet and crosses the street to meet his girlfriend, Hee-won. The confrontation that follows reveals everything. Jung-min possesses the same cursed ability as Yoon. He can see the S-lines. The devastating truth he witnesses is that Hee-won has multiple S-lines, undeniable proof that she's been intimate with many men besides him. This revelation becomes his breaking point. Enraged and consumed by jealousy, he attacks Hee-won, his hands closing around her throat with murderous intent. Yoon, recognizing the imminent danger and knowing she can't rely solely on police response, makes an extraordinary decision. Fighting against her paralyzing social anxiety and trauma, she grabs a kitchen knife and forces herself to leave her sanctuary. Each step down the stairs is a monumental effort, haunted by thoughts of danger and the deep scars of her past. But as soon as she steps outside her building, the overwhelming stress causes her to collapse. Her vision blurs and goes dark as she faints, her protective sunglasses slipping from her face. In her unconscious state, she has a hazy vision of her mother, instinctively reaching out to her. Jung-min's confrontation with Hee-won reaches its climax. Seeing her multiple S-lines has pushed him beyond reason. This visual proof of her intimate history with other men becomes the catalyst for murder. As he strangles her, Yoon miraculously overcomes her paralyzing fear and arrives at the scene, though still visibly trembling with terror. Jung-min, seeing Yoon standing there with a kitchen knife clutched in her shaking hand, confronts her with a chilling calm and a terrifying smirk. He knows full well that this traumatized girl won't be able to act on her threat. With terrifying composure, he takes the knife from her trembling hands and stabs Yoon, leaving her bleeding on the floor. His objective unchanged, Jung-min turns back to Hee-won, ready to complete his brutal plan. But Jiwuk finally bursts onto the scene. The first thing he notices are Yoon-hup's sunglasses lying discarded on the ground, a chilling sign that everything has gone terribly wrong. Racing upstairs, he finds Yoon-hup's apartment door wide open. Inside, he discovers a bizarre sight that hints at her secret life, a sprawling conspiracy map with intricate strings pinned to the wall, suggesting she's been tracking connections and patterns related to her cursed vision. Looking across the street through her window, he sees the grim tableau: Yoon-hup wounded and lying in a pool of blood while Jung-min brutally chokes his girlfriend. Jiwuk draws his gun but hesitates, a flicker of reluctance keeping his finger off the trigger. It's only when Yoon-hup, with a surge of desperate energy, manages to stab Jung-min in the thigh that Jiwuk finally finds his opening. As Jung-min lunges to deliver a fatal blow to Yoon-hup, Jiwuk finally pulls the trigger. As Jung-min gasps his last breath, Yoon-hup hears him murmur something chilling about the lines beginning to disappear. This cryptic statement confirms her growing suspicion Jung-min was talking about the S-lines, proving that others share her cursed ability to see these connections. After the ambulance arrives and the wounded are evacuated, Yoon-hup has a profound realization. Jung-min's ability to see S-lines, combined with her observation of him instinctively reaching for his glasses during the struggle, leads her to a crucial conclusion. Those specific glasses might be the key that grants this cursed sight to others. When Jiwuk approaches to check on her condition after such a life-threatening injury, Yoon-hup, ever stoic, assures him she's fine. But as Jiwuk asks her to come with him to the police station, his niece, Seon-A, unexpectedly appears, seemingly already knowing about Yoon-hup, a curious connection that hints at a deeper relationship. That night, when Jiwuk confronts Seon-A about the suspected bullying she's enduring at school, she sharply tells him to mind his own business and not meddle in her affairs. She declares she only needs his money, not his attention or concern. But then, Seon-A drops a bombshell that changes everything. She knows Yoon-hup personally. They were classmates back in middle school, creating a connection that explains how their paths have intertwined in this tragic story. The next morning, Yoon-hup receives a mysterious message from an unknown number. The sender claims to know about the S-lines and instructs her to come to school. A message that suggests someone else is aware of the supernatural phenomenon and wants to make contact. At school, the bullying situation escalates dramatically. Jung, having found the humiliating love letter in Seon-A's locker, places an empty paper bag on Seon-A's desk. The bullies have meticulously set the stage to embarrass her in front of the entire class, a calculated act of psychological torture. Unable to contain her surging anger any longer, Seon-A finally snaps and fights back, lunging to snatch the love letter from Jung's grasp. This ignites a furious physical fight between them, which is eventually broken up by their quick-acting homeroom teacher, Gujin. Gujin takes Seon-A to her office and sternly inquires why she started the altercation. But Seon-A, defiant and tight-lipped, refuses to explain anything and simply decides to leave school for the day. Here's where fate intervenes. Just before heading home, Seon-A checks her locker and discovers a pair of glasses tucked inside. The same type Jung-min had been wearing. Someone has deliberately placed them there, knowing exactly what they represent. Meanwhile, Detective Jiwuk faces an annoyed Dong-sik, who clearly hasn't appreciated being left alone to investigate, leading to his brutal beating by Jung-min. Dong-sik grills Jiwuk about his actions, but Jiwuk explains he's compiling a comprehensive report on the case. Dong-sik confirms that Jung-min died and insists there's no need for further investigation. However, Jiwuk voices his lingering suspicion about Jung-min's true motive for murder. Dong-sik counters that Jung-min had a documented history of dating violence, which had led to him being fired from his previous teaching position. But this information only deepens Jiwuk's unease. His nagging question remains: why did Jung-min choose to initiate murder a full year after being fired? Moreover, Jung-min had often been heard talking about salvation, strange language for someone who wasn't known to be religious. At home, Seon-A's curiosity overcomes her caution. She puts on the mysterious glasses and instantly sees a shimmering strand of red S-line emanating from above her own head. visual confirmation of her intimate connection with someone. When Jiwuk arrives home, Seon-A, now wearing the glasses, experiences a shocking revelation. She sees a multitude of red lines emanating from her uncle's head, dozens of connections revealing his extensive romantic and sexual history. Stunned and horrified by this visual representation of his promiscuity, she immediately runs outside. The revelation hits her like a tidal wave. In that moment, she finally, unequivocally realizes what the lines truly represent. Each red thread connects two people who have had sexual intercourse. This knowledge transforms her understanding of everyone around her. Armed with her new supernatural vision, Seon-A returns to school and makes startling observations. Her homeroom teacher, Gu-jin, has no S-line on her head, a profoundly strange anomaly for a woman of her age, suggesting complete inexperience with intimate relationships. But then she uncovers an even more shocking discovery. Her bully, Young, is having an affair with their literature teacher, Mr. Sunjin. The red line connecting them provides undeniable proof of their illicit relationship. The same day, following the enigmatic message about S-lines, Yoon makes her way to the school. This decision leads her to become Seon-A's classmate, and by extension, Young's as well, setting the stage for their paths to dangerously intertwine. Meanwhile, Jiwuk's investigation continues as he pores over a school brochure featuring Jung-min's photograph. He notices a critical detail. Jung-min isn't wearing any glasses in the photo. This seemingly minor observation ignites a crucial question about the source of Jung-min's ability to see S-lines. Rushing to evidence storage to examine Jung-min's glasses, Jiwuk discovers they're missing. Someone has taken them, suggesting a larger conspiracy or network of people with access to these supernatural objects. Power, as they say, corrupts absolutely. Seon-A, now armed with the ability to see S-lines, experiences an enormous boost of confidence that fundamentally changes her personality. She finally stands up against her bullies, but in a disturbing twist, she begins transforming into a bully herself. The corruption manifests in calculated cruelty. She reveals knowledge of affairs involving different teachers, using intimate secrets as weapons. Most shockingly, she deliberately steals one of her bully's boyfriends as a direct act of revenge, demonstrating how victims can become perpetrators when given power over their tormentors. This brazen transformation sparks dangerous anger in Young's eyes. The former victim has become a threat, and Young's violent nature won't tolerate this challenge to her dominance. Recognizing the dangerous path Seon-A is taking, Yoon directly confronts her, revealing that she too possesses the power to see S-lines. Seon-A, utterly shocked that someone else shares her supernatural ability, doesn't immediately believe it. But Yoon proves she isn't bluffing. She demonstrates intimate knowledge that only someone with S-line vision could possess. Young's affair with Mr. Sunjin, other teachers' illicit relationships, and she can even visibly discern the single S-line shimmering above Seon-A's own head. This overwhelming evidence convinces Seon-A of Yoon abilities. Yoon, having lived with this curse for years, tries to warn her friend about the dangers of such power. She's seen how this knowledge destroys lives, relationships, and peace of mind. But Seon-A, completely consumed by her newfound ability and the sense of control it provides, defiantly declares that this is exactly what she wanted. The conversation takes a darker turn when Seon-A asks how someone could potentially get rid of the S-lines. Yoon, speaking from her painful experience, gravely explains that an S-line only disappears from someone's head when they die. When that happens, anyone connected to them loses that specific line. Death is the only thing that severs these supernatural connections. Seon's corruption deepens as she develops a calculated blackmail scheme. Having photographed Hyung with Mr. Sun Jin at a love hotel, she initially tries to intimidate Hyung with the evidence. But Hyung, being a minor, knows that only Mr. Sun Jin would face serious consequences, not her. This unexpected fearlessness from Hyung sparks a new, more cunning plan in Seon's mind. She escalates by directly blackmailing Mr. Sun Jin, sending him the incriminating photo and demanding 20 million won to keep their secret quiet. Her motives aren't entirely malicious. She desperately wants independence. She confides in Yoon that she's utterly done living with Jiwuk and yearns for the freedom of living alone. During this conversation, she somewhat abruptly asks about Yoon-hup's mother, wondering if she's still alive. Yoon-hup, estranged from her mother since the tragic incident, honestly doesn't know. That night, Seon's words stir something deep within Yoon-hup, reminding her of the elusive warmth of family. From her window, she observes seemingly happy family scenes, imagining how wonderful it would be to belong to one. Yet, even in her wistful contemplation, her S-line vision reveals the harsh reality. She notices how each person in those families harbored their own clandestine affairs and secrets, even within apparently loving units. The next day brings terror for Mr. Sun Jin when he confronts Hyung about the leaked photo. He's absolutely petrified that their illicit relationship has been exposed and hysterically accuses Hyung of telling her friends their secret. Hyung maintains her composure with calm defiance, retorting that she too is a victim and would never deliberately reveal their relationship. But she knows exactly who's responsible: Seon. Meanwhile, Seon's newfound confidence from seeing S-lines transforms her completely. She not only stands up against her bullies, but shockingly becomes a bully herself, revealing other teachers' affairs and deliberately stealing Hyung's boyfriend in a calculated act of revenge. The story expands to show that multiple pairs of these cursed glasses exist, each finding their way to different people with devastating consequences. We meet Mr. Kim, the school's English teacher, who's dealing with his own personal crisis. His upcoming wedding has been abruptly called off due to an undisclosed problem. This leads him to make a drastic life change, moving to Canada for a fresh start. Before his departure, he stays at his sister's place, where he inquires about his brother-in-law, Byung-chul. His sister explains that Byung-chul is out for work and typically very busy. By chance, Mr. Kim discovers a pair of the supernatural glasses, the same type Seon-A had been using. When he asked his colleague Gu Jin if they're hers, she confirms they're not, but remarks they suit him well. Flattered, Mr. Kim puts them on. The moment the glasses settle on his face, he freezes in sheer shock. Suddenly, he can see the impossible: red S-lines emanating from people's heads. When Jiwuk appears covered in hundreds of these lines, Mr. Kim is so overwhelmed he immediately yanks the glasses off. Now armed with this supernatural sight, and understanding its meaning, Mr. Kim begins to see the red lines connecting his sister's husband to others, instantly realizing that Byung-chul has been cheating on his sister. This knowledge becomes a burden he must decide whether to act upon. The glasses have found another victim, and like the others before him, Mr. Kim must grapple with knowledge that threatens to destroy the relationships around him. Mr. Kim's investigation into his brother-in-law's infidelity becomes increasingly personal and painful. Using his S-line vision, he follows Byung-chul and witnesses him at a fancy hotel with Charon, the woman he suspected as Byung-chul's mistress. The scene is heartbreaking. Mr. Kim watches as Byung-chul presents Charon with an expensive necklace, sharing tender moments as he lovingly places it around her neck. Unable to stand what he's witnessing, Mr. Kim calls Byung-chul to casually ask where he is, only to be met with blatant lies. Mr. Kim decides to confront Byung-chul directly at the hotel, threatening to expose the affair to his sister and demanding he end the relationship with his mistress. Byung-chul, desperate to keep this secret from both his wife and mistress, begs Mr. Kim for time to finish what he started. The next day, as Mr. Kim prepares to leave for Canada, he bids farewell to his sister. But before departing, he discovers shocking news on Charon's social media. She announces her pregnancy. This revelation completely snaps something in Mr. Kim. The affair has produced a child. He immediately rushes back to his sister's apartment, intent on confronting Byung-chul himself. But when he arrives, he's met with chaos. His sister is desperately trying to ram Charon's car with her own vehicle. When Byung-chul returns, instead of consoling his clearly distressed wife, he shockingly embraces Charon right in front of both Mr. Kim and his wife. This public display of affection for his mistress is the last straw for Mr. Kim, who completely loses control and furiously beats Byung-chul, demanding an explanation. But then his sister intervenes with a bombshell that shatters Mr. Kim's entire understanding. Charon is Byung-chul's real wife. Byung-chul was never Mr. Kim's brother-in-law at all. The horrifying realization dawns. His sister is actually Byung-chul's mistress, not his wife. Meanwhile, another pair of glasses has found its way to Mung, a school staff member with dreams of becoming an actress. Mung leads a double life, working at the school by day and staying at a hotel by night, wearing a pink wig and different persona. At the hotel, Mung practices acting monologues, revealing she's had sexual relationships with many men but has become fixated on one particular person she can't stop thinking about, the school's music teacher, Mr. Park. Using her newfound S-line vision, Mung discovers that Mr. Park has a romantic partner, and her jealousy becomes consuming. She spies on them through a hole in the hotel wall, watching as they have intimate encounters and make plans to meet again. Mung's obsession reaches a deadly climax when she attacks Mr. Park's partner, ties her up, and assumes her identity to seduce Mr. Park. When Mr. Park rejects her advances and tries to leave, calling her crazy, Mung throws a stapler at him. The stapler strike renders Mr. Park completely paralyzed. Mung then drags him to the bed and begins kissing him while he's unconscious. Horrifically, blood begins gushing from his head, soaking the pillow. Instead of helping, Mung reacts with disturbing manic energy, assaulting his unconscious body. Mr. Park briefly regains consciousness, but remains paralyzed and unable to fight back. Then, the light fades from his eyes as the red S-line on his head vanishes. His soul leaves his body. After witnessing the death of the man she claimed to love, Mung is utterly devastated. She retreats to the bathtub and, using the same stapler she wielded against Mr. Park, begins stapling herself repeatedly while continuing to repeat her disturbing monologue. Jiwuk arrives at the crime scene to investigate this latest tragedy. They find Mr. Park's body on the bed and Mung's corpse in the bathtub, her body covered in self-inflicted staple wounds and soaked in her own blood. Significantly, they cannot find the glasses at the scene. Jiwuk specifically asks about them, confirming his growing understanding of their importance to these cases. He seeks out Yoon for her testimony about the incident. She explains that she could see a single S-line on Mung's head, but crucially, it wasn't connected to Mr. Park, indicating that despite her obsession, they had never been intimate. Yoon reveals that Mung's appearance and demeanor at school versus at the hotel were completely different personalities. While Mung always wore glasses at school, she never wore them at the hotel, except when she was found dead. Yoon delivers an ominous warning about the glasses. They're dangerous because they make the wearer feel special and powerful. But this sense of superiority inevitably leads to destruction. Her words echo in Jiwuk's mind, reinforcing his growing suspicions about these supernatural objects and their connection to the rising body count. Finally, driven by curiosity and the weight of evidence, Jiwuk returns to the crime scene and drains the bathtub. There, amidst the bloodied water, he finds the glasses Yoon had been warning him about. In the pivotal moment that changes everything, Jiwuk puts the glasses on. The truth is finally and undeniably revealed to him. He can see the red S-lines Yoon described, and to his astonishment, he witnesses hundreds of them emanating from his own head, a visual representation of his extensive romantic and sexual history that he can no longer deny or hide from. The detective who has been investigating these supernatural crimes has now become part of the phenomenon himself, gaining the cursed sight that has driven others to violence, obsession, and death. S-Line masterfully uses its supernatural premise to explore the destructive power of secrets, the corruption that comes with forbidden knowledge, and the price of moral judgment. Each character who gains the ability to see S-lines responds differently. Some become violent, others obsessed, many self-destructive. The drama asks profound questions. Is ignorance truly bliss? What would you do if you could see everyone's most intimate connections? And most importantly, when does knowledge become a curse rather than a gift? Through Yoon tragic origin, Seon-A's corruption, Jung-min's jealous rage, Mr. Kim's family discoveries, and Mung's deadly obsession, S-Line reveals how the same information can destroy lives in countless ways. As Jiwuk finally gains this cursed sight, seeing the hundreds of connections from his own head, the story comes full circle. He now understands what Yoon has endured her entire life. The burden of seeing too much, knowing too much, and being unable to unsee the complex web of human intimacy that surrounds us all. This isn't just a supernatural thriller. It's a mirror reflecting our society's fascination with others' private lives and the devastating consequences when secrets become weapons.